What's up everyone, this is Snicked back with another Royal Revolt 2 base review. Thanks for joining me. Today is September 2nd, and in this installment we're going to be looking at the base known as Wpinheiro28. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce your name, given that it's Brazilian Portuguese, so we're just going to call you W for the sake of the video, if that's alright. Currently ranked at number 139 on the global leaderboard, and with 3,619 trophies, W is a high mid-level to borderline high-level base, and he is sporting a classic Clover design, as you can see here on the minimap. Those of you who have seen some of my previous videos, and have also probably seen Jason Weivart's videos, have probably seen the Clover base make an appearance or two at least. It's a very common base design. I would say that it's one of probably 4 or 5 archetypical base designs in Royal Revolt 2. And its long-standing popularity and its prevalent use is largely due to a few of the key defensive benefits that it has. The defensive heart of the Clover base, just in brief, is the choke point, which you find right here in the middle of the base. It's typically a 180-degree hairpin turn right after the beginning of the base, and over on the other side of that, there's another 180-degree hairpin turn that mirrors it, that actually at the end of that shoots up toward the castle gate itself. After you come out of the initial 180-degree hairpin turn, you go out into the Clover structure itself, which you can see is this kind of scalloped design over here. The stair-step feature on the Clover base here in the lower left and the upper left sides provide great opportunities for Firebolt towers to be situated in corners. As you can see, Wando, or W I should say, has 5 right here. Going back to the choke point, you'll notice that there are 2 towers here, and then there's an assortment of towers over here. The tower here and the tower here, I believe, are Firebolt towers, and both of those have the effect of laying down what I call a suppressing fire on this area here, which is very effective in preventing the raiding party from working its way through the choke point and out into the bulk of the base, which is the Clover shape itself. And so this generally prevents the progress of the raiding party through the base. The hero can go through with minimal problem and get out into the base itself, but if he leaves those towers intact, doesn't bring out any troops to take down those towers, then that really strands the raiding party toward the beginning of the base. It'll be very difficult for them to get through and to provide support to the hero as he works his way out through the Clover and then finally gets up to the castle gate. So we'll get into some of the details of the Clover. Those will come out in the raid here in just a moment. But I would note here a couple of additional points on the mini-map. The first of which is that W has 3 blockades arrayed right here on the initial path, and then of course a couple of towers over here. And this is actually a really good place to have multiple blockades kind of clustered together. They will be relatively easy to take down with a Sonic Blast, but what this does have the effect of doing is it slows down the progress of the raiding party through this area, and the range DPS that is coming down out of W's castle gate can park over here, shoot at your raiding party as it's coming up, so that'll have the effect of really softening up and draining some of the hit points out of your raiding party. And once your raiding party gets up here, it'll be very easy for these towers to pick off those troops. So until the hero can get up through the choke point and around and clear out this range DPS, any troops that are spawned in the meantime are probably going to die very easily, and it's a really bad idea, especially to spawn any higher cost troops such as a cannon to come up here and deal with these towers until this range DPS area is cleared out. There's not a whole lot we can do about the range DPS that's over here. The range DPS that I spawn will come up here and will be attacking it, and so they'll go back and forth until the hero finally comes around and takes care of them himself. But what we will want to attempt to do is to bring down this tower here and this tower here. Pyromancers, R-blasters, and cannons can all attack those towers relatively easily, but the cannons are by far the most effective, so we will be spawning a couple of those. Looking over here at the waves that W is using, we have R-blasters, mortars, frosters, archers, and finally knights. R-blasters are especially susceptible to poison, and so we'll probably want to bring some mortars along. Mortars, on the other hand, are especially susceptible both to ice damage and fire damage. The Frosters, which are number 3 here, are susceptible to fire damage. So between the two of them, we will be bringing along Pyromancers, who are also really effective against the many Firebolt towers that W has. Finally, there are Archers and Knights, which there aren't that many of, and which typically don't have enough hit points or are able to deal out enough damage to be much of a threat. So I will go ahead and go in here and change this Froster over to Mortars. And then again, we'll have Pyromancers for the Firebolt towers, Mortars, and Frosters, and Cannons to deal with the Firebolt towers. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and go into the raid itself. Starting out, we'll spawn a couple Pyromancers and a couple of Mortars. As I had said, the range DPS that comes in over here will soften up those troops, along with this Skull Tower. And it's only after I've cleared out that range DPS that I'll want to spawn Cannons, which I'll be bringing up to deal with that Firebolt Tower and that Firebolt Tower. So it's really cool to see that W has 2 Firebolt Towers. So now I'll start to bring the Cannons out. Hit the first in-corner Firebolt Tower. You can see that this blockade effectively prevents me from seamlessly going over and taking this one down as well. I'm going to tag that one a little bit, run up ahead here, hit a couple of these blockades, Firebolt Tower, and couldn't quite reach the second one there. So you can see that the cooldowns that are required with multiple Sonic Blast deployments in order to take down all of these Firebolt towers is a little time consuming. And here's yet another one. This is the last Firebolt tower in the overall sequence. And I'm going to spawn a couple more cannons just to clean up any possibility that that Firebolt tower may have remained over here. And yep, it looks like it's still alive and well, even though the one over here was killed a long time ago. For whatever reason, none of my troops are picking up this Firebolt tower, even though it's the same distance across the gap. So that's interesting that they hit one, but wouldn't hit the other one. So here come my troops. The only thing to be mindful of up here, which is easy to forget, is that oftentimes, or what W's done here is almost kind of snuck a tower down over here, which is a little bit not difficult to get to, but you can see you're not being attacked over here, but it does provide something of a distraction. So I'll sweep down here and pick that up real quick and come back up to take these guys out. Okay, and then just a couple of concluding comments about W's base. Again, we are dealing with a Clover design. In practice, you saw how the scalloped feature of the Clover out on the left side of the base was really effective in just slowing down the general progression of the raid. There was an in-corner Firebolt tower in each one of those corners, and with the way that the blockades were situated, W, I would say that that's a really great way that you have all of your blockades spaced out throughout the Clover. I would definitely maintain that because while it is possible to bring down more than one of those right now, as those blockades are leveled up and become more formidable, it will really slow down the progression of the raider through the Clover with the way that you have it set up there. Again, looping back to a comment I made earlier, I also like the 3 blockades right there at the very beginning, because as those level up as well, it will take more time to break through all 3 of those to get up into the choke point, and that'll provide more time for the range DPS that was just kind of coming a little bit slowly The timing wasn't quite right, but as those blockades are leveled up, the timing will get into sync, and your range DPS will come over to the parallel path that's right below the choke point here, and we'll really be able to soften up the initial troops that the raider spawns, and then the towers up at the choke point will be able to finish them off without any problem. I did also think it was pretty noteworthy how my cannons were able to take out the right side tower at the choke point without any problem, but completely neglected to touch the one on the left side. Could be that I didn't spawn quite enough cannons to kind of last through the choke point, because the range DPS was still parked up there firing at them, so maybe my cannons were only able to take out one, and I needed to spawn more. But that's an interesting point too, because as the raider gets out into the clover and is concerned with taking all the firebolt towers down, etc., they may neglect to remember that they also need to continue to spawn cannons in order to take down that second firebolt tower. And that's only one firebolt tower up there isn't really adequate to prevent the raiding party from getting through. You did see how the raiding party was able to get out and into the clover without a whole lot of a problem, but they would have been a lot more effective at doing so if that second firebolt tower had been taken down. So that gives the raider a lot more to think about, and they kind of have to multitask, not only dealing with all the towers and everything going on out in the clover, but they have to remember to bring out kind of a second wave of fresh cannons to try to take down that second firebolt tower that's on the left side of the choke point. And it's that much harder because it has to not only get up to the choke point, but kind of move through into the far side of the choke point. And the range DPS troops that are sitting on the other side of the choke point are up there, and they whittle those cannons down pretty quickly. Last thing I'd mention is up at the castle gate. Again, you have a tower in the upper left corner and the lower right corner. As those towers level up as well, especially the tower in the lower right corner, which takes more time to bring down. It's not really that big of a deal to leave that tower there for a raider. You know, if they miss it, they'll get 99%, which still gets them into the Chamber of Fortune. It doesn't really penalize them in any regard. I mean, they might miss a trophy and a little bit of gold, but it's no big deal. But as I was commenting and having a discussion with Kenneth Ching, primarily out on Facebook today, this is something where different players vary on whether or not they want to get 100% and how focused they are on 100%, kind of as a measure of success. Individuals like Kenneth Ching don't really care. They'll go through, and if they get 92, 93%, they're happy with it. And there really isn't a whole lot of effective difference between getting 92, 93% and getting 100%. As long as the castle gate is brought down, that is your primary objective in the raid. If you don't do that, then you're going to get penalized pretty heavily. But if you miss a few towers here and there, while not perfect, it's still a successful raid overall. But not all players think that way. They kind of look at getting 100% as a measure of pride. Sometimes if somebody's trying to exact revenge on you because they've attacked your base, they want to send a message even through 100%. Sounds a little bit petty, but a lot of players can get to that point, especially if you've been raiding them over and over again. And so having a tower up there in the castle gate square in the lower right corner may not be the best use of it, because all it really is intended to do is distract the raider from the castle gate. If the raider has any level of discipline, they're not going to go down there and hit it. If they're high level or overpowered, they can go down there and tag it anyway. But it's not really dealing out a whole lot of offensive damage because the raider might not even notice it down there. And if they do notice it, it's not going to hit them at all, and the range of the Firebolt tower isn't adequate to hit them when they're up at the castle gate. So you might consider putting that up by the castle gate, or maybe even a different placement entirely. I would say an effective placement that you're not using right now is just to the left of the first three blockades there, at the beginning of the base, kind of in the first scallop or the first little turn in the clover. You could put a Firebolt tower down there, and I believe that will be able to hit the initial path in the base, but can't be attacked except potentially by cannons or Aura blasters over there. So that is an alternate placement, again, down into the lower left at the very bottom of the clover shape. So anyway, with that, W, if you have any questions or comments or reactions to the review, you're welcome to hit me up out on Facebook, or you can also leave me comments here on YouTube as well. Thanks for watching.